Mm.
Now, if you'll simply let them know how you did that, they'll stop chasing you, and they'll start chasing the ones who actually stole your credit. And in this particular case, the courts stole her credit. So all she has to do is name them, and the IRS will go after the judges.
Mm.
The way we want it. We're planning on putting the courts out of commission, because that system is actually contrary to what's really going on, which is we are operating in bankruptcy. Every country in the world, when it failed to pay back its debt to the IMF, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, it had to declare bankruptcy, because that's why they collected the gold and silvers, because they ran out of everything.
Is this applicable to all nations across the globe, you're saying?
Yes, possibly not some tribes in the middle of Africa who still use wampum or whatever.
Right.
Not disparaging them, they're actually freer than we are.
Sure, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Any country, and we're all working desperately on this to find the correct forms. And just in case your European listeners are wondering about what forms, I can't say this for certain, but we're beginning to think that people over there, and even Australia, New Zealand, and England, they might just have to get EINs, which are employer identification numbers, and also international tax identification numbers, known as ITINs, with the IRS, with Social Security, because it seems, I can't say this for certain, but it seems as if the IRS is kind of the head guy as far as collection agents go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody's heard of the IRS. Not everybody's heard of IR or ATO or whatever. What's your tax agency called there?
They're called Skatteverket.
Good grief.
Yeah.
You mean you don't even have an alphabet agency there? I mean, it's called well, anyway. Name.
I guess it's SV for short or something. I don't know if they punch it down to letters like that, but anyway, there we go. Yep.
That's terrific. Anyway, but see, I haven't heard of that, but I'm sure you've heard of the IRS.
Yes.
So it's kind of like they're the big guys, because they truly are the best collection agent on the planet. Well, the truth is, they're supposed to be collecting for us. I know this is really, really hard to imagine. But whenever we have put our labor in the form of cash or credit card payments or debit card payments or money orders or certified checks or however it is, that's all from our labor. When we put that into the public, we're actually obstructing the bankruptcy. Because we're all acting in bankruptcy, in other words, the commercial code is based on and due to bankruptcy, we're actually in violation of public policy, and we're doing it wrong. We're not supposed to be paying anything with our labor. We're supposed to be setting off public debt with our signature, which means when somebody presents you with a bill, which, by the way, they tend not to do anymore because that is the easy way to set off public debt, they're supposed to actually, you go into a store and you buy a lawnmower. Let's pick on Sears. I always pick on Sears. Do you have Sears over there?
No, we don't, fortunately.
Well, okay, Sears is just kind of your classic store for everything,
I know. Yeah, we have similar ones over here. We have that for sure.
Well, I always pick on Sears because for no reason other than I thought it was kind of worldwide almost. But anyway, so you go in there. What they're supposed to do when you take your lawnmower to the counter is they're supposed to write you up a bill that says who you are, who the Sears is, and the cost of the thing, and what it is, what they get. And what we're supposed to be able to do is simply sign for it, thereby claiming it, and giving them access to what's called a treasury account so that we can let the Treasury know to offset Sears' debt, which Sears created, by the way. We didn't create it by buying the lawnmower. They created it. They wrote it up as a debt, and all we're doing by signing the bill is saying, I'm authorizing the Treasury to balance your accounts for you, because I now know you have a debt, so you want it balanced. But for us to pay with cash, our labor, believe it or not, is actually increasing the debt. It's doubling it because the amount's the same. Then they give you a receipt which shows you that you've paid. Well, in fact, this did not set off their debt. It increased the problem because we gave them debt notes. Now, this is a huge, long diversion, which I don't really want to get into, but when we labor, we are putting forth our value, and what we're getting in return is debt notes. In other words,
Yes.
those notes operate in debt. It's kind of like picture the level of seawater. Well, we are putting in something positive, so imagine the sea going up, right? But what they're giving us is something negative, so now we're operating below sea level. So it isn't direct compensation. In fact, we are giving away our labor for nothing. What's that called? Slavery. So this is how they've enslaved us, by pretending to give us something of value that isn't of value. And yet, it's true, we can go and get what we want with that. But we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to be handing over that cash. We're supposed to be setting off public debt with our signature and using cash simply for items between you and me. Like if you want a haircut and I say, hey, I can cut your hair, Hendrik, so you say, come on over. And then you say, well, how can I compensate you? And I can say, well, let's see, you could invite me for supper. That would be a nice compensation. Or, let's see, you know what? If you don't want to have me to supper, you can just give me some of those notes that you have, that you get from working. And you say, fine. And I take those and I can do what I want with them. Go someplace and get something else. So, but not in the public, just the private. In other words, then I could maybe use my friend's computer for the day. And he says, well, how are you going to compensate me? I say, well, I got these notes that Hendrik gave me. So that's how that's supposed to work. We're not supposed to put those notes into the public. We're supposed to be able to walk into any store. They write us up a bill. We set it off by signing our name, which actually instructs the Treasury to set off their debt. So that then, of course, they can go buy whatever it was I just got from them, like the lawnmower. They go back to their supplier and they get a lawnmower, and they use their account to do that. Because they've been credited. Now, stop me if it gets too crazy, because I know everything is absolutely the opposite of what we've been thinking.
Yes.
So,
I mean,
yeah, I know it's a little dingy, but
no, I mean, it's fine. But let's go back a little bit more and go over it, kind of the overview once more here a little bit, because if we think of money right off the bat, obviously it's a means of exchange. It's better in a way, or easier, I should put it, to carry around like, let's say, paper money instead of carrying around coming with your tractor or whatever it is that you want to exchange, right? So in that regard, we can think of money as a kind of a symbolic means of exchange. But what you're talking about right here now is that money has been transformed into something else. It no longer represents the true value of what it's supposed to be. Is that correct?
Yes, it does get us what we want. As you say, we don't want to walk around with a tractor in our pocket, so we carry cash. But that's just between you and me and the private. But when we go to work, it's true they're giving us that, but we were never meant to earn our living anyway. And that gets into a whole ethics issue, where what we're supposed to be doing is whatever our talent is. And we all have a talent, whether we've realized it or not. And so we're supposed to be doing that. I mean, there's carpenters out there. There's people who build lovely furniture. There's people who make lovely music. And so what they ought to be doing is doing that for their fellow man. And when their fellow man says, oh, I just love this piece of music that you played for me, or this desk that you built for me, what can I do for you? And then he says, well, you can do this for me. Or if you can't, or you don't want to, or that's not appropriate right now, tell you what, just give me some of those notes and I can take them someplace and get something from somebody else. In other words, we're not even supposed to have these corporations in our lives. They shouldn't even be existing, but the reason they're existing is essentially to confiscate our labor.
Yes.
And they've enslaved us so we're not working for ourselves anymore and each other. We're working for major corporations, and we're simply cogs in a machine there, and we're not serving anybody by doing it. Because most of the people who work, I mean, you look in any city and you can see these skyscrapers. What are people doing in there? They're not doing anything for their fellow man. They're either doing stockbroking or insurance or banking or something that has involved them, rather enslaved them, in the commercial world. There's no good being done from any of these corporations. Now, yes, these corporations do supply us with the goods that we want. And that's where we say, okay, it was my value that funded the manufacture of this because I have a birth certificate and because you knew that, and by that I mean the alleged governments, what they did was they used the birth certificate as a bond in order to create the credit to create or to manufacture whatever the corporations, in other words, create the corporations and manufacture whatever it is they sell. So that we could simply saunter in there anytime we want and say, I'll take that right there,